This is Chase Krim from Texas Roadshow, and you're listening to the Sports Card Strategy Show, part of the NoOffSeason.com Sports Card Network, the number one place for advice on how to make money flipping sports cards. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, there is no off-season.
What's up, everybody? This is Chris Kelsey from Nash Cards, and you are watching the Sports Card Strategy Show, where there is no off-season.
What's up, everybody? I'm Paul Hickey with NoOffSeason.com. This is the Sports Card Strategy Show. Don't forget to get a free 30-day trial at NoOffSeason.com today to help you make money flipping sports cards, build your sports card investment portfolio, get unlimited advice from our experts, and take sports card school to navigate the hobby. That's NoOffSeason.com. Get your free 30-day trial today. All the data we use on the Sports Card Strategy Show is from MarketMoversApp.com. Use code NOOFFSEASON at MarketMoversApp.com to get 20% off for life after a free 14-day trial. All right, let's get to the Sports Card Strategy. Coming in hot.
Come on, baby.
Lefty McKee, what's up, brother?
Man, I'm ready. I'm ready to roll. I'm having a good time. My hype is here. I love those intro videos. Having my boy Chase Krim on there. Let's go.
Coming in hot, and Lefty's dancing. I mean, I kind of wish our video intro wasn't playing so everybody could see you dancing, but you know, there he is. There he is. Coming in hot. Hello, middle-aged men. What is up? We are happy to have you here on the Sports Card Strategy Show live Wednesday, August 7th. Let's give a shout out to people on Instagram. They're not all middle-aged men. We're just joking. Small Town Collectibles, Cardboard Collector, Troy Travis, A+ W Collectibles, CP Sports Cards, Strictly Baseball, Matt Solomon, and we've got Jeremiah. I mean, like, live chat on Instagram is going. We've got Sean Red 5 Cards on YouTube. We're streaming Lefty live on IG, YouTube, X, Twitch. You know, I mean, come on. Like, most people are listening to us on Apple and Spotify. We love all of you in the NoOffSeason.com fam. We're here to help you make money flipping sports cards. Lefty, before we get into what we're going to talk about on today's show, which revolves around our top 5 cards to buy, graded, and flip, I will say this. I've had some fun watching the Olympics with my family. Everyone in my family is interested in the Olympics, and that's typically not the case with other sports. It's usually just my son and I who are interested in most sports. But I saw a commercial during the Olympics that got me way more hype than the actual Olympics did, and it was for the Packers-Eagles in Sao Paulo, Brazil on September 6th. I am hype for the start of the NFL season. Lefty, talk about it.
Dude, I could not be more football mode right now, which is crazy for me because, like, you know, the boys just started texting. The fantasy group chats are back alive. You know, I'm trying to, like, get and look at my pre-draft rankings and stuff. And usually for me, that's when my football love starts bubbling up. I'm like, ooh, fantasy football is back around, because football for me is a secondary sport. I know for most people it's their primary sport. Andy is probably crucifying me for saying that it's a secondary sport for me, but I like it when it's here, but I don't really think about it much because I'm full baseball, soccer, F1, all that mode right now. And so anyway, I'm very, very excited about the Sao Paulo game. Plus, because you mentioned a game that is outside of their original stadium, I'm excited for the Reds and the Braves to play at Bristol this next year. So that should be very interesting and probably will be the most attended baseball game of all time. And it should have Acuna and Ellie De La Cruz playing in the game together. That could be legendary. So.
Yeah, I mean, Strictly Baseball's in the live chat saying these are going to be baseball cards, right? And, you know, we'll talk about some baseball cards for sure. So stay tuned. A+ W Collectibles.
Cards.
Yeah, we can't talk to Lefty McKee and not talk about some baseball cards. So don't worry about that. New follower, A+W Collectibles. Glad to know we are doing the thing with flipping raw. So we do flip. We do talk about raw to grade on Mondays. So if you want to get in on some raw to grade, you could go to nooffseason.com. We've got raw to grade in the formula-based sports card rankings right off the bat. So check that out. We're always looking raw to grade. Today on Wednesday, we focus on already graded, which I think we'll have more of a football theme. Sorry, strictly baseball. It'll have more of a football theme today because we are so close to the football season. And one more thing on that, Hendon Hooker is playing tomorrow. Hendon Hooker, I would think he would play. I mean, the Lions play the Giants tomorrow. You might be listening to this on Thursday, August 8th. So in that case, it would be today. The Panthers play the Patriots. And then on Friday this week, we got Falcons, Dolphins, Texans, Steelers, Eagles, Ravens. Then on Saturday, we got Commanders, Jets, Bills, Bears, Raiders, Vikings, Packers, Browns, Chiefs, Jaguars. I mean, everyone's playing on Saturday. I'm not going to list it off. The entire league's playing on Saturday if they don't play Thursday or Friday. And so, Kendall, other than Hendon Hooker playing, who's one of my top backup quarterback flips that I'm invested in, Jordan Travis on Saturday, the future starter for the New York Jets. I'm excited about that. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I'm fine because, like I'm here for the Aaron Rodgers slander. But what I'm really looking forward to is who is going to start. Who's going to start week 1 for the Las Vegas Raiders? Is it going to be my boy Minshew and then also there's another one that's very close to Las Vegas. I'm very curious about who ends up playing and starting well outside of that Denver Broncos quarterback room.
I mean, we picked up, we didn't actually buy them, but you and Turner were standing next to me when I made an offer from a value box at the National on 3 Jared Stidham various PSA 10s. Yep. I made a really low ball offer, and I think the dealer kind of gave me a good old FU, but yeah, it's backup quarterback time. Things can happen.
He's ranked as right now. The depth chart just came out, and he is number 1 on the depth chart, in front of Zach Wilson, who's in second, and third is Bo Nix from Oregon. So there's a lot of quarterbacks that you would seem to be very similarly projected in that quarterback room. So maybe we're going to see all of them start at some point this season, which wouldn't shock me because that Denver Broncos room is not ready to quite be consistent yet. But the Raiders and the Broncos, I believe, have good room to be able to make sports card plays.
I agree. Hector's in the live chat on youtube.com/Paul Hickey saying he's an AOC fan. And, it's AOC versus Minshew Mania. We'll see. We know Lefty's a Minshew guy. We'll see what happens, but shout out to Prime Collecting as well. Canines by Chris, Lynn A Sports Cards joining on Instagram. We're going to talk a little bit to the Instagram live chat, the YouTube live chat throughout the show. And I'm going to switch gears real quick because it's time for the question of the day. The question of the day is, how do you all feel about repacks? I want to know, how do you feel about repacks? I think I'm going to know most people's answer, but Lefty, how do you feel about repacks?
There have been times where I was on record saying I hated the idea of repacks just because I felt like they weren't done well. I felt like the quality control wasn't there. I felt like it was majority a scam. But we're seeing repacks become more and more popular in the hobby. Everybody from Gary V to Texas Roadshow is doing them. And there are some significant hits that are coming out of these repacks. And if you are playing the odds as a chance draw, then I don't think I recommend them. But if you can play it to a statistical advantage, which is what we recommend here at the Sports Card Strategy Show, if you can put a sports card strategy to how you go about doing repacks, and Paul and I talked about this at the National about, if we were to ever see ourselves doing some sort of, now this is hypothetical at the time, but if we were to see ourselves as doing some kind of a repack, how would we do it effectively to promote a sports card strategy about it? And I think the more transparency that's out there, the more strategic you can be. And there are some people that are doing them that I'm very excited about. But overall, I have not necessarily gotten into any repacks outside of buying some of the things that you find at like Walmart or Walgreens that are always a scam. But it is a fun rip. For instance, I don't know if you can tell, but last night there's a bunch of sports cards behind me on this dresser. I got bored last night in my hotel room, so I went out to Walmart to buy some packs, and all they had was soccer repacks. So I literally pulled zero of nothing, but I did. It was a fun rip, but it definitely lost me money. So
yeah, ripping is a risk for sure, and you foreshadowed this very nicely without even really knowing where I was going. I think a good sports card strategy would be to buy into a repack where you can see the entire checklist and you can vet the entire checklist, see the price of the repack, and understand if I don't get the hit, what's my worst case scenario? And I am here to announce something live on the Sports Card Strategy Show. It's called High Ceiling, High Floor. That's what I would want out of my repack. High ceiling, high floor. And thanks to our friend M. Pokeworld, you may know him better as Maddox Yost, the genius 18-year-old card flipper. He might be 19 now, but he's our guy here in the nooffseason.com fam. He and I have partnered together to launch High Ceiling, High Floor, a repack product. Drop number 1 right now at nooffseason.com. Go to nooffseason.com, get one of them because there's only 30. And one of our premium members already bought one. So there's only 29 left. And here's the deal. This is drop 1. Here's the checklist. I'm going to read it out to you real quick right now. And I'm just going to tell you that the lowest value card is a $70 card right now that has a great chance to go up to over 100 within the next month because we have picked the top quarterbacks in the NFL in high grades, PSA 10s, to give you as the floor. So the high floor I would project to be $105 to $125 in a month or two. Right now they're going for around $70, but we have some hits. So for $175 on this repack product, again, there's only 29 of them. I think you can get, there's basically almost 10 hits here. We've got a Marcus Allen downtown, a Will Levis introductions blue out of 99 PSA 10, a clearly Donruss Gridiron Marvels case hit PSA 9, National Treasures Brian Robinson Jr. gold RPA out of 10 PSA 9, Donruss Josh Jacobs downtown immaculate Hendon Hooker RPA out of 99. I wish I could just steal that one out of the repack because that one's going to the moon and it's already a chaser hit. A Chronicles Trevor Lawrence rookie black green out of 49 PSA 9, and a Spectra Sam Laporta rookie mojo RPA out of 10. Maddox did a great job putting together the hits. I won't read you the entire checklist, but I can tell you it's a high floor. I mean, you've got Tom Brady, you've got CeeDee Lamb, Joe Burrow PSA 10s, Jalen Hurts Silver Prism PSA 10, CJ Stroud Prism PSA 10s. I mean, these are the CJ Stroud Prism PSA 10, I can tell you right now, is one of the floor cards. So for $175, you're getting a floor card of a CJ Stroud Prism PSA 10. I mean, right there, Brock Purdy purple out of 99 PSA 10. I mean, these are the floor cards that I'm reading off after I'm reading off the hits. So I'm very excited about this repack product. I want it to be a sports card strategy for everyone where even the lowest dollar cards are cards that we would have advised you to buy graded anyway because we think they're going up in value and you get the chance of the hit. So we're going to have Maddox on Monday real quick for a few minutes just to walk us through how we put this together, and hopefully we'll be sold out by then. Everybody go to nooffseason.com right now. You can go to nooffseason.com to the homepage or /repack, nooffseason.com/repack. Let's sell this fucker out. What do you say, Lefty?
I might get in on this.
Like Hector says, it's still gambling, but the odds are way better that you leave feeling good compared to ripping wax. And this is nothing like ripping wax. This is a one card only repack. We're trying it out with 30 cards. We're experimenting. Like you said, the best in the biz are doing this. Texas Roadshow is doing it. when the guys at Texas Roadshow start to do repacks, I start to think, why don't we do repacks? They're trustworthy guys. We're trustworthy guys. Let's see what happens at nooffseason.com.
Sounds good.
All right, so Lefty, it's time to get into some quarterbacks.
Come on.
And, for those of you that are baseball card fanatics, what I might do is after this top 5 sports card opportunities to buy, graded, and flip that are focused on NFL quarterbacks for reasons that we'll talk about, I just might let Lefty go for the baseball card people, just talk about some baseball cards just so that we can hit the baseball card market today. But we want to talk about cards, I think, and I think this is, Lefty, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the reason why you're excited about football cards right now is because I think you, like I have become more excited about like quicker 1 month flips and not necessarily having to wait for a selling marker that's way off in the distance. Talk about that real quick before we get into it.
Yeah, I think most of Turner and I have been talking about this on Lefty Card. Sorry about that. Have been talking about this on Lefty Card some is that we traditionally had moved away from the we had moved into the 6 to 12 month flip. And I'm really trying to focus on the 1 to 3 month flips right now because of the advantage that we have with statistical data. And then also with the plays based around the formula. If you can take emotion out of it, which is pretty hard, but if you can take emotion out of it, and then you can look at the 6-week plays, it's extremely, extremely advantageous for us to be able to be moving in and out of these plays and making a quick win rather than a long-term win. If you can make, making a $20 to $40 win in a month is a lot easier to on the palate than a $50 to $40 win over a year's time. So if you're leveraging that same amount of money, you would rather be in and out of it quicker rather than in and out of it over a 12-month period with so much risk associated with sports. The risk of a 1 to 3 month flip is way more palpable in my mind than it would be a 6 to 12 month flip, because these athletes are just like us in life. How much of our lives change over the last 6 to 12 months? We can only imagine how much of their lives are changing over the last 6 to 12 months. And then you also have to play into all these things like the team and the other teammates and then the draftees that they're bringing in and all this other stuff. Everybody is coming for their job. And so if you can minimize that risk with what I like to call a 1 to 3 month play or a 6-week play per se, that's where I want to be at. So that's what I've really been looking at over football cards in this last couple of months. And I also have been really excited about some of the trades in the trade deadline for baseball, because some of those prospects that got moved also have a 1 to 3 month flipping line as well. And so I'll be able to name a couple of those names for my baseball fans in here too. But the quarterbacks, it just doesn't get much easier than this. I have been on record for calling football cards, you're just collecting quarterbacks, and that's as easy as it is. If you collect the best quarterbacks now, the best quarterbacks are going to be on prime time in less than 2 months. And so those players are going to be the ones that people are desiring in a sports card collection. And when people desire it, the price goes up. It's simple economics.
Yeah. And you said mitigate risk, and you said top quarterbacks. And so that's exactly where we're going to go next, because the formula at nooffseason.com is what we use to determine which cards we should buy, whether it's raw to grade or whether it's already graded. And you've already narrowed it down perfectly to top quarterbacks are about to rise in value. Some of them are already rising in value, which makes it risky, which is why we use the formula, right? So for example, if you just want to go out willy-nilly and buy a Joe Burrow PSA 10, that particular card might not go up in 4 to 6 weeks, but we have some cards that we're about to talk to you about right now that per our formula will go up in 4 to 6 weeks. And so the first one is, I've been on record as saying a guy that would be one of the top 3 quarterbacks moving at the National. I don't have any real data to prove that, but I think I'm right. It'll be interesting to see what Lefty thinks. But Jordan Love has a lot of cards right now. He was super hot at the National. I think people think he's a little bit hard to gauge because he doesn't have the track record of some of the other quarterbacks coming out of the 2020 class, but he certainly finished last year on a high note. He certainly looked good during the second half. I mean, Thanksgiving on, he looked amazing. He looked like one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league, and he's young. He got a new deal. He's one of the top, if not the top paid quarterback in the league right now. And so his 2020 select 247 club level red die cut PSA 10 is currently our 5th best opportunity to buy, graded, and flip when we talk about NFL quarterbacks right now, a 58% ROI. So the way that we do this, for those of you that are new to the nooffseason.com fam, is we look at our formula and we say, look, you could just look at Jordan Love and you could say, I think he's going up in value. A lot of you might look at Jordan Love and say, I think he's at his ceiling. But we look at hundreds of individual cards and we run them through their formula. And for the already graded, we look at historical value of this card and cards like it. What did it sell for safely a year ago at a particular point where nothing really has to happen in terms of a performance spike, but basically the player just has to get back on the field. The card rises in value. And then we compare it to the most recent comp. So the most recent comp of the card that I just talked about, the Select 247 club level die cut red PSA 10 for Jordan Love, is $76. This is a $150 card in October. That is a 58% ROI. So Lefty, we've been doing this show together for a long time. Would I have ever mentioned that card without the formula?
No.
I would have said what? Like Optic Hollow or Prism Silver or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, the truth of it is there's a lot of parallels of each of these quarterbacks for the most part. Unless you're getting to the guys that are just recently into releases, there's a lot of releases that are out there, especially in football, that are licensed releases. Like in baseball, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's like Bowman and that's it. But like in football, there's Donruss, there's Optic, there's Contenders, there's autos, there's die cuts, there's you've got these select cards, you've got club level, all this. It just gets out of hand. And so if we can strategically take a look at which cards are down and up the most in certain seasons, like it's a way to take emotion out of it. I don't even like I have also been on record of talking about how much I hate select cards. But if and I'm not talking about select cards, I mean like the brand select cards.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't like select, mainly because it's freaking complicated. It just took me 45 seconds to read off the name of one card. And then you're looking up comps for this stuff and you're like, it's next to impossible. But I think because we're able to run hundreds of cards through our formula, we're able to find these opportunities that we weren't previously able to find. And these are liquid cards that we're talking about. You may not be able to find it for the $76 price point, but somebody did within the last week. And that's why we're talking about it. So because somebody did, we believe all of you can do it. And Lefty just made the point, there's millions of cards. So if you can't find it for the target cost, move to the next card. Speaking of that, the next card, Joe Burrow 2020 Select 46 Concourse Silver PSA 10, a little bit easier of a mouthful. But, we love Jordan Love. We love Joe Burrow. $89 target cost for this card in September, October, $180 card, 62% ROI on this particular buy, graded, and flip. How do you feel about this one, Lefty?
It's another different parallel of a select card, which is why, it's not the card we would have recommended, but it is the player we would have recommended. We've been talking about Joe Burrow for a lot. Who's not talking about Joe Burrow right now? Joey Bird, Joe Shiesty coming in with the nice new haircut. It's crazy. But he's one of our favorite guys.
Looks like Slim Shady.
Yeah, he looks great, and he's got weapons galore, and he's got a team that's great, and he's in probably one of the toughest divisions in football, which means he's going to be well marketed. And so, love Joe Burrow. I'm willing to make $100 flip on Joe Burrow as well. And so, I love Joe Burrow, but I also love $100 flips even more.
Yeah. And we are saying September, October for the sale of these cards to get to that profit amount. And, somebody in the live chat on Instagram a minute ago, Canines by Chris, shout out, says, he's talking about injury risk just in general. He mentioned a particular player, but I mean, he's right in terms of just injury risk in general. And so I just want to throw a quick lesson learned out to everyone and get Lefty's take on it. For me, I used to say liquidate all of your football cards by the end of August so that you eliminate that injury risk. What we're talking about on today's show are actually players that I believe are almost injury proof in the hobby. We're talking about top tier quarterbacks to where, yeah, you might see the cards go down 20, 30% from what you bought them for if they do get injured. But the upside of that for a potential performance spike in the end of September, early October, far outweighs the downside of holding through an injury. I mean, worst case scenario, I think we get through these 5 cards, Lefty. Curious to your thoughts on whether or not you agree. And anyone out there can comment below at youtube.com/Paul Hickey or DM me at Sports Card Strategy on Instagram. Agree, disagree with, the guys we're about to get through being sort of injury proof. I think performance spike could be a way where you're if you're playing with house money, you're holding the card. I think you got to get rid of it by the end of October, but I think you can play a little bit with house money if you get it at the target cost because you're up at that point. And I think you can see like maybe I make more than 58% or 62% if there's a performance spike. But even if the guy doesn't get injured, I should be able to sell it for that profit. So I want to segue real quick to your guy, Lefty. You've been hunting for a particular quarterback. You and Turner liked him at the National. Lamar Jackson, his 2018 Select 149 Premier Level PSA 10 is the card we're going to talk about. But before I give you the target cost and the ROI on this card, I want to say that in my hunt of finding Lamar Jackson already graded cards that work with the formula, anyone who says that he's underpriced is wrong. The data proves he is not underpriced. It is hard to find an already graded Lamar Jackson card that you can make money on because coming off of his season last year, he is not underpriced. There are not many deals on Lamar Jackson cards. This is from my research, but Lefty, feel free to agree, disagree here. What's your experience been with your hunt for Lamar Jackson cards?
Well, I think it can go down to the guy that I met at the very first table we walked up to. I knew that I was going to be looking for Lamar Jackson. I had specific Lamar Jackson parallels and cards that I was looking for. And then when I found them at the first table, I said, is there any way that you can move down on these prices that you have on this card? He was almost $70 over the last comp, which almost was double what the value of the card was. And I said, you've got to move way down for me to even be interested in buying this card. And he said, I'm not interested in coming down because I believe Lamar Jackson will be an MVP. And I was like, well, sir, I understand, but I'm also going to leave that card there and you're not going to make a transaction because you are astronomically above the prices on this. The reason I say all this is Lamar Jackson, and this goes beyond Lamar Jackson. Whether we say that they are overpriced or underpriced, the price that is the last comp is what the price is at. And so like it's hard to have the conversation around overpriced and underpriced when the market has set the price. And so whether you think Lamar Jackson is going to peak or not, is like this card that we're talking about, this $54 card, it's generally going to be in the same stratosphere as Joe Burrow, but probably going to be cheaper than Joe Burrow. But also at the top end is probably not going to sell for as high as the Joe Burrow would have sold for at the hype marker that they would have achieved. Now, there's a lot of factors to going into that, and I don't really want to discuss why or how we think that is affecting Lamar Jackson's market. But I think that this Lamar Jackson is in a place right now where I am buying and I am going to sell, even though I don't expect them to have the same dollar amount stratosphere that a Joe Burrow card would have. The return percentage is what I'm looking at, and the return percentage is going to be the same, if not better.
Yeah, I think a lot of great stuff there for sure. And you're right. I mean, $54 buy-in point for Lamar Jackson's 2018 Select 149 Premier level PSA 10, 70% expected ROI in September, October when he's on the field, because that card's $115 card during that time period. So again, just real quick, I want to sidebar to hit on a few things Lefty said, and then Hector in the live chat makes a good point as well that I want to kind of talk about. So with this dealer that Lefty talked to, he's prospecting on Lamar Jackson. He's not bringing down the price. He's putting a value on it that is not the current value. What's ironic about that is that same dealer, I guarantee you, because everyone else at the National, I mean, Lefty, between you and I and Turner, I feel like we almost did business with everyone at the National because and I know that's hyperbole, but I mean, we really did a lot of face-to-face business with a lot of people. And I can tell you whether it was at the National, on the show floor, whether it was in the VIP room, whether it was at a trade night, or whether it was at the after show, everyone is only paying 80 to 85% of comps, right? There's one guy, shout out Pandy Pung on IG, who's paying a little bit more than that. But no one's paying, and no one's going to even flirt with paying comps or above comps, which means no dealers prospect. Dealers don't prospect. People in the nooffseason.com fam who are flipping online, we prospect. So I think Hector in the live chat saying dealers trying to profit on the future, that's what customers are trying to do. I think Hector nailed it. I think this dealer that you talked to is one that's kind of speaking out of both sides of his mouth. But look, it's his card. It's his card. He can do whatever he wants. He's just kind of in the minority there.
And for what it's worth, at the last day of the National, I saw that card was still on his table. So
yeah, and that doesn't surprise me because he's got it priced way too high. Hopefully, for his sake, it does come up to that point. But if you're trying to move in and out online and at shows, you're probably in that scenario quite a bit. And maybe he was in a situation where he had to get a certain amount of money on that card. But look, here's the deal. Just to kind of reframe the conversation here, the cards that we're talking about right now, these 5 cards, before we get to number 4, these are cards that we're looking at. We're not just randomly saying, hey, let's talk about 5 quarterbacks that have graded cards today. We're doing this because you can't get any of these cards back within the next 4 to 6 weeks if you were to submit them to PSA right now. So if you want to make money on any of these guys flipping online, you have to get these deals already graded and get them for this target cost. So today's show is really relevant to the fact that it's the first week of August. We're running out of time on buying these guys. I would rather buy the right cards for the right players at the right time and have the opportunity to know what the target cost is and know when the selling point is. And that's what the formula is helping us do here for these top quarterbacks. If we just went out willy-nilly, bought some of their cards, we could definitely lose. Especially because we're leaving that footprint. What we're talking about today is we're leaving a footprint, we're leaving a comp. And so when you leave a comp, you better have a selling marker in mind. And so speaking of that, leaving a comp here, we're going to do one with a Justin Herbert 2020 Select 344 field level PSA 10. Now, this is a higher pop card than the 3 that we've talked about so far. So this is one that you should be able to go and find. $35 is the target cost. NoOffSeason.com is going to help you find these for the target cost, by the way. But $75 would be the exit point in late September, early October. So the formula tells us, and the formula takes into account your fees, your marketplace fees, and your shipping and everything. So $71 ROI or 71% ROI rather, not a $71, but a 71% ROI on a $35 card. Pretty good for a high pop card. And, whether or not you're high on Justin Herbert, who cares, right, Lefty? We're talking about making money here.
Yeah, I think not only that, but I think Justin Herbert is a really good play right now because of all the stuff surrounding the Chargers. Now, a $35 flip is relatively no matter if you're buying dollar cards or if you're buying large amount cards, like a $35 flip is a low risk investment. And if you're having a low risk investment that's going to over double the price that you paid for it in the next month and a half, even the chance at potentially doing that, like I think this is a good win. Not only is now I'll kind of like go a little bit ahead of what we're going to go at, but this is my favorite card to potentially acquire out of these five things because of the ease of accessibility to this card. Because you're not looking for something that's super high end, you're looking for something that's relatively low end, and the amount of the ability that you're going to be able to fight to put this card out there. There's going to be plenty of sales at this $75 mark out in the next couple of months or next couple of weeks. You're going to be able to move this card for sure for over $35. Now, whether it gets to $75, we do our best to try to put the math forward to really approach that target cost. But what I can guarantee you is it is not going to sell for $35 in a month and a half.
Yeah, I think I'm really glad you said that, because like how many times have we all listened to sports card content and we've heard the phrase, you could have had this card for $35 2 months ago and now it's at 100. And it just happens all the time. And the reason why a lot of the time is seasonality as much as it is performance spike. So when you pair seasonality with potential performance spike, you really get the safe exit price and then the potential of even more profit on top of that. So I agree with you. I think this might be my favorite card of the bunch as well, just because, you know, even what's kind of interesting too is like we've said we don't really love select. All of the 4 cards so far have been select. And I just want to thank the formula at nooffseason.com for kind of opening up our eyes to more potential cards than just, you know, the prisms and the optics that I've been guilty of talking about. So I'm kind of with you. Now, the next one has a little bit more ROI, 76% ROI. And I do like the player better. It's Joe Burrow. But it is going to be hard to find this card for the target cost because this does appear to be a bit of an anomaly sale. $100 recent sale for Joe Burrow's 2020 Optic 151 variation in PSA 10. It also is hard to find this card on eBay. Now, at nooffseason.com right now in Joe Burrow's player profile, there is a link to a Fanatics Collect auction for this card that is significantly under the $100 cost, but there's only one of them. So if you want to be the one to buy into this card and make 76% ROI, there is a way to do it. Go bid on that Fanatics Collect auction. There's a quick link at nooffseason.com right now in Joe Burrow's player profile. So if you're not a premium member, just get a free 30-day trial and you can make 76% on this card. Full disclosure, I think I put a bid in on it, but it's still well under that $100 target cost. Good luck, everybody. We might be bidding against each other on that one. That typically doesn't happen, though, but it is 76% ROI on that Joe Burrow 2020 Optic 151 variation. I do think, Lefty, a lot of these guys are injury proof. And what I mean by that is even if any of the 4 of them get injured at the beginning of this season, their cards prices will bounce back. It's already happened with Burrow. It's already happened with Lamar Jackson. I believe even Jordan Love, who doesn't have the track record that the other 3 guys have, I believe that even if he does get injured, his cards will bounce back. And I would say I don't want to say I'm heavily invested in all of these guys. I would say I'm adequately invested in all of these guys right now because I don't want to miss out on the late September upside of having a potential MVP candidate in my portfolio to liquidate at that point.
Yeah. I think I'm at the exact same point as you right now. I think Joe Burrow is a guy that I'm excited about. I think I don't want to say future proof because I'm not. Quarterbacks in football, there's just so many injuries, which is why we say invest in the second level of quarterbacks is a cheeky ad right there. But I think Hector says it well here by Herbert is already hurt and may not play a few weeks into the start of the season. I think that is a better opportunity for us to potentially flip these other guys, get into Herbert when he's hurt, and then flip him again when he's back in the pros. So there's a lot of good advantageous plays here. It depends on where your convictions lie now, which is another savvy investor tactic that we recommend. Is eventually you are going to have to create your own strategy. We do the best that we can to give you tools available to you for you to be able to go out and make your own magic. Like Paul and I have become successful entrepreneurs in life because we've been able to play off our own convictions, lean on other people's coaching, but eventually there gives an opportunity where you just have to go for it and you have to use your intuition. And there are some of these guys, we give you 5 so that you can kind of use your own intuition here and pick which guy you like the most and go make a deal happen.
Yeah, and before we get into some baseball talk here with Lefty McKee, let's answer some live chat questions about football. So, Jeremiah says, how do you feel about Tyson Bagent? I will say this, the backup QB strategy is a real thing. So if you're prospecting for football, I actually really don't hate the backup QB prospecting. And not that I'm rooting for anyone to get injured, but historical pattern recognition tells us that there will probably be about 20 to 30% of the markets that will have to play their backup quarterback significant game time this year due to injuries. It's just the nature of the NFL. Tyson Bagent, Tyson B, is the Bears' backup quarterback. He played okay in relief of Justin Fields last year, which was his rookie season. So he's going into his second year. And for those of you who don't know who he is, I believe he won sort of the Division II college football equivalent of the Heisman Trophy. So, and I know it's not called Division II anymore, but I don't care. You know what I mean? So he's a capable quarterback, and his rookie ticket auto variation red zone ticket went for $46 earlier this week. His rookie ticket auto variation out of 50 went for $54 earlier this week. His optic green velocity raw went for $2 yesterday. The reason I bring all that sales data up is because people are buying him. So how do I feel about him? He's not in my top 5 backup quarterbacks to prospect on, but I don't hate the idea of, if you're okay spending $46 on a rookie ticket auto red zone variation, and you can get it for that, that's down 64% from its previous sale, which was 14 days ago, which tells me that there's upside there. So there's upside in backup QBs. And we know Lefty's favorite one is Gardner Minshew. My favorite one is Hendon Hooker right now. But I know Lefty might have a different backup because he thinks Minshew's a starter. So Lefty, you want to comment on that real quick?
Well, I will talk about Bagent really quick. I think Caleb Williams is going to have one of the longest leashes in the National Football League right now. So at that point, you are predicting an injury. We don't like to prospect predicting injuries. We like to prospect predicting short leashes. And I think that the short leash or the long leash of Caleb prevents me from getting really excited about Tyson. So he's not high on my list for backup guys that I'm looking to acquire. The guy that I am looking to acquire right now that is a backup is the guy that they traded to Pittsburgh. I'm looking to acquire Fields because I believe that Russell will not have a long leash. And we've talked about that quite a bit. We believe that Russell is going to struggle. He has not shown that he's able to put up Seattle Seahawks numbers over the past couple of seasons. And I think Pittsburgh won't really be that much different. I think Fields will get an opportunity early in the season to potentially stamp his name as the starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're in one of the toughest divisions in football. We've already said that earlier. And I think the Steelers will really struggle this year to try to put wins together. And when you have bad quarter or mediocre quarterback play with losses, I think that spells a really quick trajectory for Fields to get the addition to the starting lineup.
Yeah, I like Fields too. I like Fields a lot. Now, Fields and Hendon Hooker are the two most sold by sales volume week in and week out throughout the entire offseason. And my guy's Hendon Hooker. I want to comment on a couple other things in the live chat here, but Brian Macklin says, took your advice, Paul, on Hooker as a raw to grade flip. Got the Prism Blue Shimmer raw for $250. Got a PSA 10 and flipped it for $650. Congrats, Brian Macklin. You are winning,
Perfectly
my
executed.
friend. Well
Perfectly
done.
executed.
Yeah, perfectly executed. I agree. So, Sam Howell. Sam Howell is a guy that when I talked to Elena on the Chase, David Adams podcast, I talked about Sam Howell because she loves Sam Howell, and I actually do like him as well. I know there have been conflicting reports out of the Seahawks camp with like how well he's playing or not playing. I think, Geno Smith is the profile of the kind of quarterback that I would want to buy the backup for. Like, I think Geno Smith and Russell Wilson, right? Like they're ironically, they were on the same team for years, or coincidentally is probably a better word. But yeah, I think Lefty prospecting on Fields because of Russell. I think prospecting on Sam Howell because of Geno. I think those are smart things. But again, you got to get the card for the right price. It's got to be the right. You can't just go buy the backup quarterback that you like. I can't underscore this enough. You can't just go buy the backup quarterback that you like. You have to find the right card for the right price based on recent comps and look at things like we look at in our formula, which is like, if it's already graded, what's the potential upside? If this does happen, you got to compare it to similar players where things have happened. Hector mentions Mike White. You could go back and compare it to some things that have happened in the past. If a player's starter goes down, what card moves up the most? Hector holding a lot of Mike Whites because Mike White's kind of the perennial backup quarterback for things to happen. If Tua goes down, he could be a guy. But yeah, again, it's hard to say. Like, I don't want Jared Goff to go down. I'm a Lions fan. I just happen to like Hendon Hooker as a player. I like his cards. I like, the fact that I like the Lions. So if Goff were to go down, I think there's massive upside in Hendon Hooker. Segueing out real quick.
I got one more.
Yeah, go for it.
This is a guy that you're going to smile ear to ear as soon as I say it.
Can't wait.
So I think, guys, we've talked about short leash players, but we've also talked about players previously, not today, but previously, that don't really know how to protect themselves. They're almost too competitive for a league that is made to have contact. And so I think Anthony Richardson's backup could be a big play. And look who it is, Mr. Joe Flacco. Mr. Joe Flacco has a cult following. If Anthony Richardson were to get hurt, which looking back previously, he has not been good at protecting himself in any of the games that he has been in. And we have a long history of quarterbacks that have his profile that did not learn how to protect themselves and had a very short NFL career. Anthony Richardson has cards galore out there, and we have been talking about collecting his cards and flipping his cards, and that is the case. And I think I'm going to get out of Anthony Richardson very early in the season for this exact reason. I'm not 100% sure that his competitive makeup is going to be confident enough to take a sack or to slide when there's 2 yards to go. I think he's going to try to bully himself over the line. Thus, he has the high potential to get hurt. Thus, the high potential for Joe Flacco to come marching in to an opportunity that's pretty good for him in the Indianapolis Colts starting roster.
Yeah, I mean, you made money on Joe Flacco last year.
Yep.
And I actually think this is a good play. I think I want to clarify something because I'm invested in AR. Like, I've got AR Prism Silver PSA 10s.
As do I.
And I think we're probably about to say, like, be in lockstep with each other here. Like, I think it's simple. It's like AR is going to come out and do exactly what he did last year. He's going to have a massive fantasy performance, maybe a couple in a row, get everybody excited. That's when you sell his cards. I hope he stays healthy, but it's going to be hard to see that happening throughout an entire season, which then gives us an opportunity to see our guy Joe Flacco in the mix. So real quick, Jake Browning is Joe Burrow's backup. I hope that he doesn't get injured, but I think that, he only has like one card. So he's an interesting one. You just go buy his one card. It's not even in a pro uniform. And then, there's a lot of different things. Is there a handcuff strategy to sports card flipping? Like if you're highly invested in Joe Burrow, do you go buy a bunch of Jake Browning's lower priced one card? I don't know. Let us know in the comments. Real quick, Louis Vegarano in the live chat. What do you do with RBs and WRs? I think you sell them before the end of the preseason. I think they're more dependent on a spike week game, which is hard to predict, and they're more prone to injury. So I think that's a simple answer. A great card for Michael Penix, Tony asks in the live chat. Doesn't really have one yet. I'm still waiting on the rookie premier first look cards from Panini. It's ridiculous that we don't have them yet. We all ordered them at the end of May. It is now the beginning of August. Panini's doing a horrible job getting us those cards, unfortunately. But I'm still excited about that. I think the play on those is once I get them, I'm going to sell them. Penix playing in the preseason. So I don't know that I would buy into any other Michael Penix cards, and I would not buy those on the secondary market. I think Penix is probably a guy that we need to fade on right now. Lefty, here's what we're going to do. I am going to hand things over to you to talk about some baseball, and we're gonna have some time to answer the remaining questions that are coming in through the live chat. But let's talk about some baseball, Lefty. But first, are you ready to start grading your cards? CGC Cards is the perfect place to slab your favorite sports cards. From their crystal clear holders to their affordable pricing, CGC Cards is the perfect stop for your grading needs. Go to cgccards.com to start grading today. Lefty McKee is going to take things away here and talk about some baseball. I'm going to be right back to help him wrap up the show. We'll answer some of your questions, and I want to talk real quick about some services that we've got going on at nooffseason.com. Lefty, take it away.
Well, I, as you guys know, I live in baseball cards. I love the idea of you being able to buy and sell into baseball cards or particular baseball cards year round. There are different selling opportunities and selling markers that are not necessarily performance based or are, we like to talk about selling at the trade deadline. We like talking about selling right before the MLB playoff season. There are just a lot of things that we like to do in reference to when baseball is a buy or sell market. And because it is such a big market in terms of sports cards run through, a lot of people's first mindset is when they think about a sports card, their first mindset is to think about a baseball card in that the first thing that comes up to their head is a baseball card, which is why there is a year-round buying and selling market. What I do like to think about now is we've just seen a bunch of prospects move from one team to another and in these deadline trades. What that typically means is that teams that are not ready to compete have just offloaded one of their top end roster players, and that they have soaked some higher potential, longer runway players into their development. That's very easy to look at. But what that means is that there's going to potentially be a call up for teams like the Marlins, for teams like the White Sox, for teams like the Athletics, for teams like the Angels. There's going to be teams that know they're out of it at this point and would like to get some of their young studs some opportunities. Now, we're also in a very unique season where a team like the Baltimore Orioles are getting opportunities. They're leading their division, and they're getting guys coming into their fold. Kobe Mayo just got called up this week, and there will be more call-ups for this Orioles roster before the end of the season. But what I think is important here, and what I think is a really key thing to see, is the Orioles moved some of those guys to other teams. So a guy that I'm getting really excited about is Connor Norby. He is a guy that was traded in a Trevor Rogers trade to the Orioles. He's a guy that I really like. He's a guy that has a lot of potential, but was stuck at that second base outfield profile. He's going to get an opportunity with the Marlins to win that second base job, and he's going to get that opportunity. And so I like him. Augustin Ramirez is another guy that the Marlins acquired. I really like his profile as well, and he has some cards that have just recently come out. He's a guy that's another guy that could benefit nicely from a really good prospective move from the Marlins franchise. A third guy that the Marlins acquired that we've talked about quite a bit on this show, that as soon as he has moved over to the Marlins, cannot stop hitting dingers in the minor leagues, is Davison De Los Santos. He is crushing the ball. As soon as he moved to the Marlins, nothing stopped. He actually got better once he moved to the Marlins, which is crazy. I think he's a guy that I'm for sure selling as soon as he gets the call up, because I think there's some holes in his swing that MLB pitchers will exploit. And I think he struggles out of the gate, but I definitely think he's going to have a nice pop rise here in the next couple of months. And another guy that I'm really excited about is the Tigers acquired his name is Theron Lorenzo. He's a catcher, first baseman from the Tigers. He's in the Tigers system now, but he was one of my favorite catching prospects coming up in the Dodgers system. I'm fairly certain he has cards, but I think they came out in a Bowman Chrome mid-year release last couple of years in one of those international signing releases. So I'll have to definitely tune in to make sure that guy has a card, but he is a player that's on my watch list. I don't know. Paul might be Googling here to see if he's got a card available, but if he does not, he's definitely going to be in a mid-season release. So Paul, what's the verdict here? Does he have cards?
Give me the player again. I was not doing it, but I'm happy to do it.
Thayron, Thayron, Lorenzo, Liranzo.
All right. Yeah, here we go. Let's check him out. Thayron Lorenzo. Let me go to eBay. People are going to get a little preview of my process here. So let's go Thayron Lorenzo. He has, right off the bat, we see a bunch of Leaf cards.
That's not a good sign.
So we see a bunch of Leaf autos. We see no Bowmans, because when you search eBay for Bowmans, you only see the Leaf. So Lefty, knowing that, I mean, for everybody here, like, would Leaf ever be a play for a guy like this?
No. So this is a guy that I'm just willing to put. So what I do is I put a master list together of guys that I'm either looking for or are in my circle of, if a guy ever becomes media relevant, then he would be moving higher up my list. Lorenzo is one of those guys on that list because he's a guy that I like his profile, but I wasn't sure he would have to do quite a big move to all of a sudden end up in this Dodger lineup with Will Smith, the best catcher, one of the best catchers in baseball. So Lorenzo being involved in that trade now puts him way up my list, but he's probably going to be having cards coming out in a future release. So he's a guy that is on my watch list, but definitely a guy that we would not be buying his Leaf cards right now. Kobe Mayo, guys, he is just got called up, so you should be moving his cards already.
Yeah. And I mean, I knew the answer to that question. I just wanted to kind of let everybody know that's new to the hobby to avoid those kinds of cards. And baseball prospecting has gotten a lot harder than it once was. I mean, definitely you got to buy the right, you got to go through a process like Lefties where you're looking at who's outside the top 100 list. You've got to beat on baseball in general and who's playing well and who has upside as a sort of a penny stock prospect. They've got to have the Bowman Chrome first prospect auto, and then you got to buy it at the right time before they get moved onto the top 100 list, because then that could be a selling marker. And then, of course, performance spikes move them up quite a bit more. So a guy like De Los Santos is a perfect example of a guy that Lefty called a couple of months ago that's materializing. Like, I've made money on his call of Davison De Los Santos. And so his process works. So definitely understand that it's harder to do it than it once was. But I think, we've got the right guy for it here on the nooffseason.com Sports Card Network, Lefty McKee. More on Lefty cards. So check out that show as well. And of course, we'll talk more baseball, but thanks for walking us through that, Lefty. Before we wrap up on the Sports Card Strategy Show, we've got an active live chat today. Active live chat everywhere, which is awesome. Bodini Cards and Comics is a loyal listener of the Sports Card Strategy Show, saying, I have a silver PSA 10 McCaffrey rookie scheduled for a 10-day auction tomorrow night. Do you think it's a bad idea since he is a bit injured? I feel like it might be more of a gamble to wait. Well, without knowing what you're into the card for and what that card is going for right now, because we typically like to answer our questions at nooffseason.com/ask on the premium pod. But I would say in general, it's going to depend on those factors. But if it were me, all things even, I would wait, because I think McCaffrey is, even though like the worst case scenario is he could get injured and be like irrelevant for the season, but he's still Christian McCaffrey and people are going to want to buy his cards when he comes back. I think the best case scenario is what I would wait for, which would be like an MVP award and maybe a Super Bowl MVP. Like Christian McCaffrey is one of the few players that you could target even this early on in an NFL season for a Super Bowl MVP. I would never go buy a Christian McCaffrey card right now, but I would say that, unless I'm at a card show and I'm buying it for 80% of comps and I'm flipping it that day, I wouldn't go buy a Christian McCaffrey card right now. But if I were holding it, Bodini, I would hold it even longer. All right, so we've got Hector. Will you be buying Topps Chrome football in the future, unlicensed but as Fanatics exclusive autos? I would never say never, but probably not. That's a product I've talked about on this show. I think Lefty and I had a conversation a couple episodes ago, just kind of fading that for a lot of reasons. Two Cards says, what's the end game for guys like Hooker, Sam Howell, etc.? Definitely low ceiling, irrelevant long-term type players. No chance at ever being Hall of Fame or ever remembered. And then this is Two Cards words here. It's like when Jeff Wilson paid $23K for a Desmond Ridder 1/1. Yeah, I'm not fact checking that statement, but I'll trust you there, Two Cards. Here's the play. First of all, budget like less than $500 total on the backup QB strategy. Like these should be cards that you're going and sniping for dirt cheap, where you're literally going and buying like a PSA 10 of a Drew Lock or a Jared Stidham or a Sam Howell for $50 or well under $50. Like this, or a rookie ticket auto for less than $50, like 23K. But first of all, Desmond Ridder was I don't know, like just don't spend more than $500 total on the backup QB strategy. And then the play is like, sell as soon as there's any kind of news that the starter is going to miss the game and that guy could be the starter. You know what I mean? Like listed in an auction, and then hope that they play well. That's where the ceiling is going to come in. But even if they don't play well, you get it out in a week-long auction where that player's in the news and you're moving it, right? And hopefully you're moving it for more than what you paid for. So I think there's upside in an injury up to the starter and then the person playing well for the guys that we mentioned. I think for lefties, Justin Fields, that's a little bit different. Like Justin Fields could be the full-time starter in Pittsburgh this year, next year, and into the future. I'm not flag planning and saying that he will be, but I'm saying it could happen. So, I think it's legit to be able to ask these questions, Two Cards, but I think like we got to frame it up here. Like we're not talking about spending more than a certain amount of money on any given player, on any given strategy. So Two Cards might be new to the Sports Card Strategy Show. Many of you might be new. Welcome in. Continue to ask questions. If you want more questions answered, go to nooffseason.com/ask. Get a free 30-day trial. Lefty and I will answer them on the premium podcast. Real quick, Lefty, before I give you your chance to give your parting shot, I'm going to give my parting shot here. and it will be a shameless plug. First of all, we talk about a lot of ways to help you find cards. One thing that I want to make everybody know, want to make known to everybody, let everybody know about, is every day at nooffseason.com on the homepage and on various interior pages, we post Topps sports card auctions. We have featured eBay auctions of the week, cards that we think that you can buy now to make money on in the future. We have featured Whatnot auctions of the week. You can click a link on the website to get free $15 on Whatnot, then go bid on those cards. We have Fanatics collect auctions. So our team at nooffseason.com is constantly scouring and researching the top active sports card auctions, linking to them on the homepage of nooffseason.com. Click there to make your bids. We think these are all cards that you can make money on. Another thing that we can help you with making money flipping sports cards is our brand new card analysis and grading submission service. We intake and review and prep your cards for grading. You get discounts on grading submissions, bypass minimum card submissions, in some cases, shipping fees, max declared value limits, etc. We will now consign your cards for you via our relationships with various top sellers on multiple marketplaces. You can submit an unlimited amount of cards for our review, grading, consignment. We even had somebody bring up recently, since this is the already graded show, we had somebody bring up recently, one of our premium members, what if I send you an already graded card just because I don't want to see any of my cards? I want you to be my full service vaulting, consigning everything service. Yes, we'll do it. Here's the catch. You've got to be a premium member of nooffseason.com. So just no additional charge. You've just got to be a premium member of nooffseason.com. So check out your member dashboard as a premium member of nooffseason.com to submit those cards. Okay, that was a mouthful. Let's sell those repacks. Let's submit cards for you. Let's see you at nooffseason.com. Lefty, what else you got for us before we hit him with the outro, brother?
The last thing I wanted to recommend is a small little brief comeback to your $500 or less on the backup quarterback strategy. What we are trying to do in the sports card strategy show and all of the things that we do on the nooffseason.com is to give you progressive and slowly moving forward on a strategic and methodical way to make money playing sports cards. What we are not trying to do is have you gamble and make a quick turn. Now, what I've seen over and over and over through comment threads and in different places, not on necessarily only our feed, but everywhere, is people are looking for the quick flash pan, like magnesium setting on fire. Like, okay, if I spend $1,000 on backup quarterbacks, I'm going to make $3,000 and then I can pay off my debt, my credit card debt that's due in December. That is a super, super bad way to invest in sports cards. Invest in the long-term, slow, methodical development of investing. And there is a way to do that with sports cards. That's what we are coaching. Now, the small percentage of our portfolio is going towards backup quarterbacks. But even today, you saw so many questions about people asking about backup quarterbacks. The fundamental thing I want to remind you guys is that needs to be a small part of your portfolio. Take the high risk element and make it a small part of your portfolio, not the majority of your portfolio. Make the majority of your portfolio non-risky, extremely good, high profit margin plays, which is the Joe Burrows, the Joe Flaccos, not Joe Flacco, Joe Burrows, Lamar Jackson, the Justin Herbert plays that we talked about earlier in the episode. Those are the ones where you should be spending the majority of your time. And then if you find a great deal on a backup quarterback, do that. Do not try to push all your chips on high risk profiles. That's a great way to be out of the hobby in 6 months.
Lefty nailed it. Great work today. Thanks everyone for joining us. We'll see you all again soon. Let's hit him with that rock music, baby.
Cue that rock music, baby.
Thanks so much for being here with us on the Sports Card Strategy Show. To connect with us further, please subscribe to the YouTube channel at youtube.com/Paul Hickey. Please also give us a follow on Instagram at Sports Card Strategy and on X at No Off Season Card. We also have a Discord that you could join at sportscardstrategy.com. Everyone, I'm Paul Hickey. For the rest of us here at nooffseason.com, have a great day. We'll see you again soon.
Yo, I'm Q Harrison. This is the Sports Card Strategy Show with your man, Paul Hickey. What's good? No off season. When you get into this game, the reason why you pay someone like Paul Hickey to get your sports card strategy together is because sometimes when you're starting out, you need perspective, you need wisdom, you need insights. And so he's been around the track enough times where he can actually coach you up and guide you. Doesn't mean he's going to take you to the promised land tomorrow, but you now have a coach by your side that can advise and kind of even create these pathways where you can get the education yourself. And that's a lot better than thugging it out on your own.